Hello everyone. So this is my revision lecture class music. The sound of music consists of two parts. First part Evelyn Glennie and second part Bismillah Khan. Both of them deal with the aspects of music and the legendary musicians who achieved excellence in their respective fields. First part is about Evelyn Glennie, who in spite of being deaf earned a name in the field of playing the xylophone. In second part we come to know about Bismillah Khan, a Shehnai maestro who has achieved excellence in the field of Shehnai playing. He was awarded Bharat Ratna in 2001 in recognition of his contribution in the field of music. Both are inspiring musicians who have motivated many people. First, we will look on to the summary of first part of this chapter, that is Evelyn Glennie. Evelyn Glennie is a multi-percussionist. She can play about 1,000 instruments with perfection. She listens to sound without hearing it. Evelyn fought against a physical disability and became a source of inspiration for thousands of disabled persons. She was profoundly deaf. She wanted to pursue her career in spite of knowing the fact that she cannot hear music. Still, she wanted to pursue her career in music, but her teachers discouraged her. Only it was the first one person only, who was Mr. Ron Forbes, who recognized her potential and supported her in achieving her goal. Then he advised her not to listen through her ears, but try to sense and feel it in some other way. She felt the vibrations of the higher drum from the waist above and the lower drum from the waist down. Later, she realized that she could feel the vibrations in every part of her body. She had learned to open her body and mind to the sounds and vibrations. So, following the guidelines and the instructions of Mr. Ron Forbes, she started sensing the sounds through her body. She says that the resonances and the music flows through every part of her body. After that, she never looked back. Evelyn joined the prestigious Royal Academy of Music and scored one of the highest marks in the history of the Academy. She worked hard with strong determination. She got right to the top. So she joined this academy and scored the highest marks. She started working hard as music was her passion. She wanted to pursue her career in music only despite being deaf. Apart from the regular concerts, Evelyn gives free concerts in prisons and hospitals. She is a shining inspiration for deaf children. She has earned a name in the orchestra. She has inspired those who are handicapped, made them believe that if Evelyn could do that, why not they? So this chapter, Evelyn, is a perfect example that disability cannot stop a person to achieve if he or she is determined and works hard towards it. Evelyn earned many awards and rewards. She has given enormous pleasure to millions. Right? So she never gave up and never looked back despite knowing the fact that she is deaf. Her passion, her hard work, and main thing, the two mantra of success that she revealed, the aim and the determination to achieve the aim, only made her pursue her career, her passion, that is music, and of course the encouragement and the motivation given to her by Ron Forbes, who guided her to sense the music, to sense the vibrations, to sense the resonances through her body parts instead of hearing it through ears. So that was all of her hard work, and of course the determination and the motivation which was given to her by Ron Forbes. The next chapter deals with Bismillah Khan. This chapter throws light on the origin of Shehnai and the life of all-time Shehnai Vadak Bismillah Khan. The winner of Bharat Ratna, he was the winner of Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian award of India, his dedication to music and his love for India. So this chapter reveals about Bismillah Khan as a musician. He was a great Shehnai Vadak and he was the winner of the highest civilian award. What was his dedication towards the music and how eternal love he was having for his country, that is India. Pungi, a musical instrument which was banned by Emperor Aurangzeb because of its shrill and unpleasant sound. In fact, it was regarded more as a noise maker rather than a musical instrument. The same was modified and perfected by a barber who belonged to a family of professional musicians. I told you that Pungi was revived, was renewed, was innovated and was given a new name, Shehnai. Since it was played for the first time in Shah's chamber by a Nai. So it was played first time in Shah's chamber by a Nai, by a barber. It came to be known as Shehnai. Then Bismillah belongs to the Banaras Gharana. He was born in 1916 at Dumrao in Bihar. As a 5-year-old, he used to visit the Bihariji temple and sing Bhojpuri Chaitya there. So he used to visit that temple since his childhood and he used to sing Bhojpuri Chaitya there. For his melodious singing, he used to earn a big laddu from the local Bhojpuri king. At the age of 6, he moved to Banaras. There, when he moved to Banaras, there under the guidance and training of his maternal uncle Ali Bux, he started picking up the finer nuances of Shehnai. He used to spend most of the time practicing on the banks of the river Ganges. The themes of his music were deeply affected by the sounds of flowing water of the Ganga. As I told you in the lecture of this chapter also, that he used to sit for hours near the banks of river Ganga as the flowing water of the river used to give him soothing effect and also made him invented new ragas in the world of music. He got the Best Performer Award at All India Music Conference in Allahabad in 1930. In 2001, he won 3 awards, the Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri and Padma Vibhushan. Now let's look for the character sketch of the 2 great music players, Evelyn Glennie. Evelyn Glennie's character is quite inspiring. She lost her hearing disability owing to some auditory nerve damage at quite a young age. However, she did not give up. Music was her passion. She resolved to pursue learning music. She seemed to believe in the immense inner power that was greater than her disability and challenges. That means she tried to overcome her disability and accepted the challenges in her life. Ron Forbes, the great percussionist, encouraged her to develop her other faculties for music. As she practiced, she realized she could hear music through her body. She always moved ahead. She stunned the world with her musicality. That means in spite of being deaf, she mesmerized her audience every time whenever she used to perform in concerts, right? Making her life a success story through unmitigated hard work, resolution, tenacity and utmost perseverance, she became the most sought after multi-percussionist with a prowess of over 100 music instruments. Evelyn is a living embodiment of persistent zeal and diligence. So, Evelyn's story is truly an inspiring one for not only the handicapped but for everyone, those who failed to accept the challenges in his or her life. If one is determined enough to achieve the goal with immense hard work and determination, the person can achieve any goal in his or her life. Evelyn was deaf. In spite of knowing the fact at such a young age, still she did not give up. Ron Forbes guided her and she followed his guidance as music was her passion and she wanted to pursue her career in music only. So, she is truly a living incarnation, a living embodiment of zeal and diligence. Energy. Zeal means energy and diligence and intelligence. Bismillah Khan. Bismillah Khan was one of the most famous Indian musicians who played Shehnai. He popularized the use of Shehnai. He was awarded the Bharat Ratna in 2001, which is India's highest civilian honor. While taking the award, he gave a speech in which he asked the people of India to allow their children to learn music, as music is one of the greatest tradition of India. So while receiving the award, that was the highest civilian honor, he asked the people, he urged, he pleaded everyone to allow their children to learn music, as according to him music is one of the greatest tradition and also the means to connect one with his or her culture. He was the one who brought the Shehnai to the concert stage and also elevated its status. He learned to play Shehnai from his ancestors who were great Shehnai players. He does not believe much on composing songs for movies and films. Though he was very good in composition, but still he did not believe in composing songs for movies and films. He was not so much attracted to the glamour of the film industry. That means he did not make music as a business, as a source to earn income, as music was in his soul. Although he gave his contribution to two of the movies, still he did not believe in the glamour of the film industry. He composed only for two movies and after that he continued his life, devoting his life to music world only. So now we will discuss the summary of the poem 1 of Beehive, that is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Summary. This poem is about the choices that one makes in life. The poet comes to a fork. Fork means any diversion in the road he is traveling upon. So the poem starts, or the poem opens, when the poet was standing in front of the two roads while traveling and he has to decide that which road he had to choose. He feels sorry that he cannot travel both paths as he must choose one, as he was the only traveler there. So he could not travel both the roads that time at one time, so definitely he was supposed to choose one out of those two roads. Frost uses this fork, this diversion in the road, to represent a point in the man's life. That means that diversion in the roads were actually the symbols of the choices or of the point in human's life when we also have to make choices. out of 2 to represent a point in the man's life where he has to choose the direction he wishes to take in life. That means when the poet was standing in front of the two roads and the roads were diverging in two different directions, that was not an ordinary road. The road is actually representing, that diversion is actually representing the situation in human's life where we come across this situation so many times when we have to choose one out of 2. As he thinks about his decision, now he was continuously looking towards the roads and he was thinking about his decision. He looks down one path. He was continuously observing both the paths as far as he can. He was trying to observe the path by looking down, bending down as far as he could, trying to foresee. Obviously, before taking any decision, we try to measure that what are the advantages or what can be the disadvantages or advantages of taking one particular option. And so the poet was also looking down one path as far as he can see, trying to foresee, trying to observe, trying to conclude what life will be like if he walks that path. He then gazes. Now after looking for the one path, he now shifted to other path. He then gazes. Gazes means looking continuously towards one thing. He then gazes at the other road and decides the outcome of going down that path would be just as pleasant. That means he was actually doing what? He was comparing both the roads in every manner. And definitely when we make choices, we also compare two options, and wherever we feel that more advantages are there, we obviously opt for that only. And so the poet was also deciding, was trying to conclude in order to take his decision. At this point, he concludes that the trail that has been, that means the path that has been less traveled on, would be more rewarding when he reaches the end of it. That means out of two roads, first road and the second road, he opted the second road, which was less traveled by the travelers because it was appearing more promising to him. The poet then decides that he will save the other path for another day, and also at the same time he says that if he would ever come back, definitely he would like to travel on the first road. But is this really possible to come back at the same point and to go for the left one option? No. Even though he knows that one path leads to another and that he won't get a chance to go back. That means inner side of him knew this thing, that it won't be possible for him to come back or to opt for the first road, because when he would be traveling on the chosen path, that is the second road, definitely that path will lead to many other paths and he would keep on traveling on that chosen track only. That won't make him any time to come back the same point of time. He then says that he will be telling this story. Now the decision has been taken by him that now he had to travel on the second road, and when he travelled, then he says in the last stanza of the poem, I shall be telling this with a sigh, with a sigh, with a sign of satisfaction, with a sign of relief, someday in the future, suggesting that he will wonder what life would have been like if he had chosen the more walked path, even though the path he chose has made all the difference. It is clearly written in the end stanza, in the fourth stanza of the poem, and that has made all the difference. That means with a sign of satisfaction, with a sign of relief, he is concluding, he wanted to tell to his readers in the future by using this future tense that I shall be telling this with a sigh. And how he would be telling this? Through his poem only. like we are reading, then only we are getting to know about the situation which he come across in his life. So he is saying that he wanted to tell his readers that the choices which we made actually make differences in our life. So we need to be very careful while deciding anything in our life, as life will take a new turn with our choices only. So this was all about the poem. You need to revise the summary, you need to revise the explanation which was being there in the lecture, in the main lecture of the poem, and then you will go through the poetic devices as well. Now, this road, the word road, is the symbol of what? Is the symbol of the choice made by us in life. Many times we regret. We regret what? The choice we make. But what is done once cannot be undone. Man regrets for what he has denied himself in life rather than what he has chosen. It is a common nature of human being to keep on regretting for the things which he had not opted or which he had left, rather than praising or admiring or looking for the things which he had chosen or which are there with him. Hence, the poet has given this poem the title The Road Not Taken. That means telling about that road which was not taken by the poet. That was which road? The first road. The word road not only means way. Here road not only means journey, way, or a stage of journey. Instead, it does not signify any ordinary road on which we daily travels, but functions a metaphor of a vital decision in life. Vital means important. That means road is a symbol of the decision. Like the poet says that he had opted for the second road. That means he opted for the second choice in his life, while and that decision was taken after an enormous observation. That means what? We need to be careful, we should be careful while taking any decision in our life, because once the decision is made, it is made for life. We cannot undo it in any way in our life. So this was all about the poem The Road Not Taken. We revised chapter 2 as well, The Sound of Music, both the parts of the chapter. Now your homework is that you need to revise chapter 2, The Sound of Music, both the parts, and poem 1, The Road Not Taken, thoroughly, and after that you will be solving the assignment related to chapter 2, The Sound of Music, poem 1, The Road Not Taken, and there will be some grammar part and writing part also, so that you may get an idea of the attention of the questions, and you should be revising the chapters carefully, then only go for the solving of the assignments that are uploaded on EdQuark site only. You need to open the assignment from there using your ID and password, and then solve the required assignments in your English practice notebook, not in English fair notebooks.